The Steelers' offense this morning should be humiliated, should be completely embarrassed. Their defense picked off a couple of balls, blocks a kick, 3 times the Cowboys in the red zone. With Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb get no points. Micah Parsons is out. DeMarcus Lawrence is out. You're at home. It is perfect. The Cowboys are reeling. It's perfect. And the Pittsburgh offense, the 1977 Pittsburgh offense, engineered 97 yards, atrocious on third down, 4 yards of play against a Dallas team without their top 2 defenders. Pittsburgh's offensive line, shocker. It stinks for years. The only happy Steelers should be Russell Wilson because at least he'll eventually get to play. Pittsburgh's offense is the flip phone of the league. What do they do well? It looks outdated. It's incredible. Since Terry Bradshaw retired in 1983 until today, they've had 25 different quarterbacks. I counted last night. Maybe I'm off 1 or 2. 25. One has been exceptional. Big Ben. 1 of 25. Green Bay's like 3 for its last 3. So, this was not about the Cowboys' excellence. They handed the game to Pittsburgh. But Dak, a real pro, said for years he's the Kirk Cousins with a bigger brand, a star on the helmet. He's a pro, high EQ, high IQ. He doesn't have to play well in long stretches. He is stoic. He is unflappable. He can stink. He can argue with CeeDee Lamb for an hour. Jerry can be doing silly stuff. McCarthy can butcher play calling and clock management. But Dak will show up, grind it out, 15 plays, and you win the game. And I find with Pittsburgh, and you see this with a lot of businesses, their strengths are actually their weakness. Their strength is they're tough and physical. Their weakness is they rely on that too often. Tough and physical. How about smart, thoughtful, clever on offense? Once again, the Steelers lead the NFL in defensive spending in 2024. And once again, they're last in offensive spending. Sometimes I think they actually believe you could just rub dirt on it and it'll be better. That's the culture. Mike Tomlin's great at the podium, and he's got, trophies. But cultures change and move. That game was there. No Micah, no DeMarcus Lawrence, multiple picks, at home, block a kick. Cowboys kind of reeling. CeeDee Lamb and Dak got into an argument, and I don't know if it was intentional, but CeeDee Lamb was a non-factor in the second half. And Micah Parsons was out. And that's what you generated offensively. And by the way, Arthur Smith, the Steelers' offensive coordinator, he made Ryan Tannehill 4 or 5 years ago a Pro Bowler in the AFC. In the AFC. Made him a Pro Bowler. It's not the OC. It's the culture. It's drawing plays up in the dirt is what it looks like. That was embarrassing. Steelers defense always does their job. Rarely embarrasses themselves. In a division now with a bunch of bad defenses, Pittsburgh's is always tough and reliable and physical. What a mess. And stop telling me Tomlin's never had a losing season. Raise your standards. Here's the coach after.
There's a fine line between drinking wine and squashing grapes in our business, and, that's an example of it. That ball's on the ground right there in the red area, and that's the difference. It was a hard-fought game tonight, but it's nothing mystical about the outcome. I just thought we didn't do enough over 60 minutes to position ourselves.
Listen, there are wins where you lose star players and they're like bad wins, and there are losses where you look up and you're like, we're better than we thought. That was an atrocious loss handed to you, and you wouldn't take it. 97 yards against that defense. Wow. All right, so Buffalo, this is unforgivable. And I'm not somebody that beats up on play calling by coaches. I don't know who's injured, who's healthy. I think in our business, it's too many hosts are overwrought ripping play calling. There's a lot more that goes into a game than just a single play. But it was tied at 20. You're deep in your own territory. Your quarterback just got his head banged into, and he's not playing well. Your run game's kind of effective. Houston has 3 timeouts. Force Houston to use them because there's not much time left. And yet Buffalo only burned 16 seconds because they passed it 3 straight times. That is unforgivable. And that's on the heels a couple of weeks ago from that zany, weird trick play against the Ravens that just muted all your momentum. I don't think you'd have won that game anyway, but it was a weird call that McDermott had to address. So it just doesn't make sense. Like, there are certain things in football when there's 35 seconds in a game, it's 20-20, you're on the road, you are kind of effectively running the ball, your quarterback just got hurt and he's having his worst game as a pro, and you didn't even have your best slot receiver available. So it was just a terrible day for Josh Allen. And you're going to ask him deep in the territory on the road to fling it up the field 3 times? Therefore, Houston gets it back, doesn't have to move it much, gets a field goal and wins the game. Coaching lost that game. And again, Buffalo is way too noisy when it comes to coaching, game management, and coordinators. The Dorsey blow up, the goofy trick play. It's way too noisy. And again, Josh got hurt, didn't have a slot receiver. You just run the ball. Texans take 3 timeouts. Maybe you lose the game in overtime. I get it. You can't lose like that. There are losses that you're like, hey, chalk it up to a bad call, chalk it up to a bad day, the weather. That is totally on the head coach. Here's Sean McDermott after.
That's on me. The end of game situation on offense. They were on 3 timeouts. I got a good field goal kicker. We needed to run the clock and move the chains, and that's on me. We didn't do that there, and that's my fault. I love Josh with the ball in his hands. I do. And again, efficient offense was the right approach there.
Listen, Andy Reid in crisis feels like a life preserver for the Chiefs. Sean McDermott in crisis is starting to feel like a kettlebell for the Bills. He is pulling them down. And those losses the last couple of weeks are to teams that you'll probably have an opportunity to play in the postseason, and you're giving home field up. And Buffalo is one of the great home field advantages due to weather and their crowd noise in the league. So you're just giving up home field advantage. Nobody wants to go to Buffalo in January. Nobody wants to go to Buffalo. I mean, forget Josh Allen. If you're a good team and you're a better roster, you don't want to go up to Buffalo. Outdoors, that crowd, Josh Allen, that weather. You're just giving up home field advantage. Brutal. I don't even get it. I don't even understand it. You ever have something in your life happen and you're like, did I miss something? What am I not getting? So I go online and people are freaking out and I'm like, okay, all right. Just so I'm not crazy. They're doing something here that is unforgivable as a head coach.